Dhamaka, Dhamaka.
Dhamaka!
जहाँ खड़े हो जाते हैं लाइन वहीं से शुरू होती है।
तुमने कभी किसी से प्यार किया?
Hi and welcome to a new episode of Khandaan Podcast where we are continuing our Dhamaka series with Kaalia. I am joined with my lovely co-host Amrita and Sujoy. Hey Amrita, hey Sujoy.
Hey everybody.
Hello.
By the way, have you noticed my arrogance where I don't introduce myself anymore? I'm just like, everybody knows who I am.
I'm the granddaddy of podcasting.
Yeah, I'm Asim Bernie, just for the new listeners. Yes, so second movie is Kaalia. Maybe we should discuss why we picked Kaalia, because I think when I was watching the movie, before I was watching the movie, it made complete sense to discuss Kaalia. When I started watching the movie, I was like, why did we make this decision?
I think we all had the same, journey because when we first started talking about Kaalia, we were just like, oh my God, this neglected classic. Why don't people talk about it?
You and me, Amrita, were hyped. We were like, yes, Kaalia.
We were like, this is one of our favorite movies. We love it. Why don't people love it?
I think we went to Manish's Bollywood drafts of the Amitabh Bachchan movies, and we were really hyping Amitabh Bachchan's Kaalia in that sort of top 10 list. And revisiting it was rough. I think we also Asim, you sort of brought it up, but I'm not sure was it for Kaalia or some other movie. But the 1980s Amitabh Bachchan movie, it sort of overlaps across different movies. So when you go back and rewatch it, you're like, is this from this movie or that movie? And this felt like rewatching Kaalia was pretty much that. Like, oh my God, total disbelief.
Yeah, 100%. You have that, like, it's all amalgamated in one movie and you don't know which it is from. And I think
it's like my head is an unreliable narrator.
Yeah. I mean, we had brains of, 6 years old or 12 years or whatever when you watched it. So obviously, but I think it's also interesting because we are going to be revisiting movies that were, however you see it cut and dry, like this was a massive hit. It was a massive movie that people talked about. And I think revisiting it is interesting even for us. Like, do they even, stand the test of time or do they not? So I thought it was kind of an interesting, and it also just shows what the 80s were,
It's interesting though, because from all the lot of Amitabh Bachchan 80s movies, we got to pick Kaalia because in the same year, he had Yarana, Barsat Ki Ek Raat, Naseeb, Lawaris, Silsila.
Yeah,
from 1981. And if we go back 1980, then we have Door Do Paas Dostana, Rambal Ramshan.
But I think the reason why we picked Kaalia was mainly because it was such a massive hit, and I do feel it's an under-discussed movie. A lot of the ones that you mentioned, there's like books written about those movies, but Kaalia, it's kind of just fell between the cracks, but it was like big, and also the name has a ring to it still, right? Like Kaalia, I remember that and this and that. Although I don't think people actually remember what the movie exactly was, but the name still kind of has brand recognition. So
also the brand recognition also comes from the iconic poster of him with the hatkadi. It's like, and like he's really angry. I think this is one of those really iconic angry young man posters of Amitabh Bachchan for sure.
Iconic visuals, iconic dialogues, iconic songs. So there's elements why, right?
But it comes with a lot of terms and conditions may apply.
Yeah. Amrita, what was your experience watching Kaalia after, I guess, years, right?
Yeah, I, much as you and I have been sitting around saying, oh my God, this is like the best movie ever. I have not rewatched this movie since I was like 10 or something. Which became immediately clear to me about like 30 minutes into the film because This is not a very tightly plotted film, is it?
No.
Amrita, it also just shows how big of a hypocrites you and me are, where we can just like completely convincingly sell an idea and
You know,
not have any basis for it whatsoever.
Yeah.
sitting here convincing the entirety of Manish's audience that Kaalia is a great unforgotten classic, and meanwhile it's like, you know, like 40 minutes of like some guy losing his arm. It's just like, why? Why are we spending this much time following this story? Okay, do you want me to just tell people what the
let's
story
do.
is?
Let's
Okay.
do the plot summary for Kaalia.
So how I remembered it.
Expectations versus reality. Yeah.
Is literally like from like the half of the movie is what I remembered.
Which half? The first half or the second half?
The half after like he comes back from prison.
Right.
The post Kadir Khan era.
Yes. That is what I remember. But there is an entire other half to this movie, which is the beginning half, where you see that, Amitabh Bachchan is basically, and also he looks really weird in the first half, right?
Yeah.
Like,
when he's playing Kallu.
Yeah.
yes.
With that
So,
wig.
it's just it's a choice. But young Kallu lives with his brother and his bhabi and his niece. And one day his brother gets into some sort of industrial accident and loses both his arms. And his boss refuses to help the family out. So Kallu decides to take, matters into his own hands and rob the Seth so that he has enough money to take care of his brother. But not only does he fail, he gets basically caught by the Seth and sent to prison, but also his brother dies. So it's just like failure on all terms.
A badly executed plan from Kallu, basically.
Yes. But now that Kallu is in prison, he basically ends up getting a PhD in crime from the people that are in the prison. And he realizes that he has now found his tribe. And he becomes a full-time criminal. And he convinces his bhabi that he's actually gone to America every time he goes to
prison. Yeah.
Don't you love, the olden days when you were just like, oh yeah, I couldn't call you, I was in America. That's how it is. Anyway, so on one of his many visits to the jail, he comes across an upstanding jailer played by Pran, who is dealing with his own tragedy because he had a little girl who was stolen from him by one of the criminals that he crossed. And meantime, Amitabh Bachchan also meets this girl called Shalini, who's Parveen Babi and absolutely gorgeous, and they become an item. And then, of course, they basically go up against, sorry, I'm blanking on his name. I can't believe it. Shani Seth.
Yeah.
Played by who? Like that's what
Amjad Khan.
Amjad Khan. That's it. I was like,
you were blanking on Sunny State, but you were actually blanking on Gabbar Singh.
Exactly. I was like, I remember Shani Singh. I can't remember Amjad Khan. Anyway, so Amjad Khan is the big bad, and he's the guy that stole Parveen Babi away from Pran, but is also the one that allowed Kallu's brother to die. So he's just like an all-around bad guy, and so now they must all band together to bring him down.
Yes,
and it all happens in a villain's lair.
Yes.
Yeah, we need to break this movie piece by piece because there is a lot going on here. First of all, I want to get into the Bhaiya Bhavi dynamic of this all.
Yeah.
We spoke in the previous incurs. We talked about the age difference between Tina Muneem, Simi Garewal, and Rishi Kapoor being 5 years, right? And Tina Mini being very... How much is the age difference between Asha Parekh and Amitabh, do you guys think? I'm sure you haven't looked it up. I have looked it up. I thought I'd ask you.
Oh my God. Is she younger than him?
She's not younger than him.
2 years.
Yeah. It's 9 days. She's 9 days older than him.
Oh my God.
So the moment I figured that out, this relationship becomes very creepy. Like, there is this obsession. Like, there's the idea of, basically what they're doing is they're interchanging the Bhabhi as a mother character, right?
Yeah.
Like, completely plain, completely devoid of any femininity. She is now just like a goddess that you have to be at the feet to do everything for. And she is like completely, Allah Mia ki guy, completely bholi. She doesn't know anything. She doesn't figure anything out. The only thing that she gets really used to is getting rich. The moment she gets rich, she is like thakrain. She's just like ordering, tu ye kar, tune wo nahi kiya, you didn't do this, like, where is the tea, the food is not ready. And she's really good at bossing Parveen Babi the moment she steps into the house. So it's an amalgam of these things. And also, watching it now, I just thought it was very, very creepy, the relationship that Amitabh and Asha Parekh happens, because they're very, very close, to the point sometimes he's just like stepping out of a shower and he's like torso naked, and I was like, what relationship is this? Like, this seems to be a very obsessive Bhabhi Deva relationship going on, which I was getting a bit uncomfortable watching it. I don't know if you guys had the same thing or not.
Well, at the same time, I think Kallu, for the beginning part of it, where they establish that relationship, Kallu is, yes, Asha Parekh's character, the Bhabhi, Shanti Bhabhi, is looked at this woman with no desire. Like, she's there to serve her husband and the family, and that's it. And Kallu is looked on as this like a prepubescent child with it's pretty much that. So that image only gets changed once he's learned the ways of the world, when he goes to prison, in a way. So I did not read it that way as you did, Asim.
I had issues with that relationship, but I don't know if I necessarily thought that it was creepy as such. It seemed like a very run-of-the-mill, no boundaries sort of relationship, like that I'm used to in Hindi cinema. I felt like the beginning part of the film basically establishes Kallu as her first child, essentially.
Pretty much, yeah.
So she has the daughter and everything, but she's basically, full-time caregiver to Kallu as well.
Nobody gives a crap about the daughter. The moment they get rich, they just dump her in some school in Ooty.
Yeah.
She doesn't even get invited to the engagement later on. Like, they got a full-on engagement with Parveen Babi. The kid is not even there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I didn't remember this part of the movie at all. Were there any sequences or parts of the movie that you remembered? Like, Amrita, you were saying you remember the second half of it. I remember the first half really well, because I had the whole Mukhtar Singh joke sequence. I had that on an audio cassette, so I used to listen to it all the time, so I knew it by heart. So I remember Mukhtar Singh really, really well. And man, like, when the writers, which is Tinu Anand, was writing the Mukhtar Singh thing, he must have been like, I am on fire. Just see what I'm cooking here, because I'm going to start the movie with this, and then I'm going to end this movie with this, because this is that good.
Yeah.
And it was
also, like, isn't Mukhtar Singh the main villain character in Shahenshah or something? Because that Mukhtar Singh, that character, reappears in Shahenshah. You actually get to see Mukhtar Singh in Shahenshah, but not in this movie. It's like the Tinu Anand universe, in a way.
The TSU. I can make that joke now. It works. But okay, then let's talk about Tinu Anand a little bit, because I thought this was written by Kadir Khan. Like, it's
not.
Yeah.
Like the bombasticness of the dialogues, the whole jailer Saab thing. I just and also because Kadir Khan is in it,
Yeah.
I just had to assume this was a Kadir Khan movie, and it's not. It is very much a Tinu Anand movie, right?
It's written alongside with his father in the Raj Anand, and there is like a Lehere podcast or something with Tinu Anand where he says that the dialogues were a bit heavy on the Urdu, and Amitabh Bachchan and him had a confrontation about the dialogue bazi, and he really refused to speak one of those lines, and Tinu Anand like bet his entire career saying like, if the audience doesn't clap on this line, then I will quit my career, and this is only his second movie. So yeah.
Have you seen his dad's filmography?
I haven't.
It is amazing. Like, not movies that I've necessarily watched, but I'm like very impressed
Sure.
of who this man was. Inder Raj Anand.
Yeah.
I mean, he's done Sangam, CID, Mard. What else? All these old ass movies that you like, Amrita. I'm just going through Choti Behan. I know that's a favorite.
Oh, I know
CID.
the dialogue, by the way. I found it.
Sorry, go ahead.
The dialogue is when Amitabh is basically replying to Pran saying, "Tu aatish dozakh se darata hai, jinhe hai wo aag ko pee jata hai pani karke."
Yeah.
That's a line, man. That's
a line. But I think Kadir Khan would have sort of simplified it in a way, and made it more palatable for filmy audience. This feels like very textbook poetry.
Yeah, because I was listening to that interview, and I was then he said the line, and I was like, I don't know if Amitabh was not wrong in taking that stand. I was like, okay. And also, Mukul Anand, one of my favorite directors, was his nephew, apparently, Tinu Anand's nephew. So, yeah, total Nepo baby vibes going on.
And Siddharth Anand is also related to him.
Yeah. But all of them make a similar kind of cinema when you think about it, right?
It's very filmy.
Yeah.
It's very, very filmy.
Big theater, big screen kind of thing. So, yeah, the Anand family has been kind of slept on as a filmy dynasty. So, yeah, I think Tinu Anand is mostly known as an actor, I would say, more than a director, right? Which is kind of insane, I feel.
I mean, I would say, sure, yeah. But also, like, his filmography as a director is also very commendable, I would say. Like,
yeah, that's what I mean.
He made like Shahenshah, just that one movie, but also a movie that we haven't revisited in a long time. So nostalgia might be playing a thing.
Yeah. When you were saying about, like how the characters get recycled in Shahenshah and everything, I was like, yeah, I do not remember a single thing about Shahenshah.
You don't? Okay.
I have not seen that movie since, I remember like certain scenes from that movie, but I have not seen that movie since like, I don't know, 1980, whatever it was that it came
89, out. 88, no, I want to rewatch Shahenshah for sure. And he also did Major Saab, by the way. This was, which was also was a hit, right? Like, I remember that time of Amitabh's comeback, the second comeback. Nothing was working, but Major Saab worked, and I think the songs were a big part of it. But yeah, it is Tinu Anand that made it. So yeah, but I think a lot of people just know him maybe better as a supporting actor or a villain, I think, than as a director.
I also just found out that Jalal Aga is his brother-in-law, which is insane to me.
Are we going to be able to pick a whole thread from all of the 15 movies we do, from one to the other to the other? It's going to be like this nice little thread we have.
Yeah, that'd be great. But by the way, when Tinu Anand approached Amitabh Bachchan for making Kaalia, he was in Calcutta doing promotions for a film called Sanjog or something, which did not work apparently. But Tinu Anand was assisting, like he was AD with Satyajit Ray.
Yeah,
it blows my mind.
It's crazy. It's crazy. So the things I remember really well, the Mukhtar Singh part, and the visual of Qadir Khan losing his arms in that machine, and then all of those sheets becoming red. That's just like one of those visuals that's also just like imprinted in my brain. I didn't remember whose arms were stuck in the machine. Could have been any random Amitabh dad version, but it was Qadir Khan. But yeah, I remember that part. So those two elements of the Kallu saga I do remember. But all of this, Amrita, you had completely blanked out of your brain.
I don't remember any of this stuff.
I think there was a huge, if I remember correctly, the later 70s and the 80s movies of Bollywood, they had a huge element of like the Mazdoor unions, and there was a lot of Andolan and protests going on. Where we have Andhi, obviously, but Diwar also, and
Coolie.
Coolie, and this movie. So there was that similar theme of common men rising up against oppressive capitalistic whatever profit lords, and I think Kader Khan obviously carried forward that in his other movies.
Yeah, when I was watching that, and I had this thought, and I mean, it's nothing new. Like, in a way, this is the movies we need now. Workers getting together, taking on the capitalist bosses, and we don't get these movies anymore. Now the heroes are the capitalist bosses. Like we have Animal, where Ranveer Kapoor is the one leading the charge and the factory owner, and it's like, wow, heroes used to be poor. You just don't have that anymore, right? It's just it's kind of a funny flip around that's happened in those last 40, 50 years. Amrita, anything to add to movies as social commentary on capitalism?
I mean, it's very funny to me to like see the movies that were written by actual leftists versus like people
liberals.
who just like people who saw it succeed at the box office and they were like, me too, main bhi likhega.
Yeah.
And you can really tell the difference, like if you see the Salim Javed films, they have like an actual political philosophy behind it.
Yeah.
Or even the Raj Kapoor films, if you see from like the 50s and 60s, there's like a proper philosophy there.
Yeah.
Because they were written, like the Raj Kapoor movies were written by people like Inder Rajanand and like, like pretty much like people who were part of the entire, oh great, now I've forgotten the name of, I'm just blanking out on a lot of things right now, but there used to be like a proper leftist writers movement. It was born at Aligarh University, and a lot of these writers that wrote for Hindi cinema in that early era came from that group. And a lot of these people, like Majroo Sultanpuri was a part of that, like like all of these people were a part of it. And you can really like hear it in their poetry and their the movies that they wrote, like Balraj Sahni's movies, like all of these things. And then you have some things like this, which come at the tail end of that, I think.
But it's just interesting because a lot of times when the parallel cinema movement was happening, I mean, slightly later or at the same time, there was a lot of this looking down on commercial cinema, right? Like there's no message in these movies and things like that. And you look at them, they actually do have a message and they're reaching a lot of people. And these messages are not there. And, like, what is the message of Skyforce? What is the message of, Border 2? What is the message of, Fighter happening? The core message is completely different from what's happening here. So it's weird to look back where the situation is so terrible now that these movies, these masala movies that were looked down upon, actually do carry a message, and you're like, okay, maybe movies need to be a bit more like this. Then I don't know. It does follow that Breaking Bad pattern where none of this would have happened if they had health insurance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about the transformation of Kallu to Kaalia.
Yeah.
Sujoy, how did that work for you? That whole sequence.
It was all of a blur to me, to be honest. I didn't know when that actual transformation happens because he goes back and forth in and out of prison like multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
and I don't like. I thought it was the initial 6 months when he got that transformation, but no, he comes back and then goes back. He does more stuff, and
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, you go, girl.
Yeah, he seems to have the worst lawyer ever. Like, the lawyer is just like incapable of saving this man, and he keeps going to the same lawyer. Like, it's the same lawyer he had at the start. He's the same lawyer when he was rich, and this lawyer just keeps sending him to jail. They do have really great barbers in jail, apparently, though, because the glow up he gets is.
Yeah.
Also, one of so there's 3 henchmen that are kind of like train him, right?
Mhm.
Was one of them Salvador Dali? I feel they should have like leaned into the Salvador Dali of it all, like kabhi ghadi to kabhi waqt pe galta hai, that kind of like lean into the whole paintings of it.
I think one of them was K.N. Singh. He's like a black and white era
Yeah.
like cinema legend.
Yeah.
But he plays one of his mentors, and yeah, he pretty much funds his life after that.
Yeah, they're very like, they come out of jail and then they remotivate him into a life of crime. Like, first session was in the jail. Now, outside of jail, we're also doing remote lessons. Like, this education continues. I do wonder what Bhairo did. Why was like Amitabh goes into jail 70 times, Bhairo is still there, and the guy is disabled. So what could he have done?
Bhairo ka ghar hai.
Yeah, Bhairo seems like a nice guy, but Bhairo did some really creepy shit that don't want this guy to come out, like serial killer vibes or child killer vibes or something like that. Bhairo,
I hope people get the Bhairo reference, by the way.
I don't know his name, man. Baron becomes Bhairo. But yeah, he has a soulful voice when he's singing. They should also, he fights Bob Christo in jail.
Yes.
I did not remember that the famous line is actually said by Bob Christo first.
Yeah. Like, it's pretty much like, no, Luke, I'm your father. That's don't remember the actual line. It's pretty much that Bob Christo says the line first, and Main bhi, Amitabh says, right?
Yeah, Kaalia doesn't add anything. He just repeats the same line, and he does it twice. And then he comes back with another line. Like, Kaalia kisi nihatte pe haath nahi utha sakta. Kaalia cannot hit an unarmed man. Which I was like, where did you make this rule suddenly, Kaalia? Like, and I was like, Bob, when did you get this moral, framework that you've created in jail?
Yeah.
But I was like, also that line isn't as good as Bob Christo's line. Like, you're just trying to me too it, It's not a good line.
It's fascinating though, because the legend of that line lives with Amitabh Bachchan now, and it's like Bob Christo is now remembered with Indian God Marta Bhi Hai.
But yeah, 70% is us promoting.
Yes, it is.
Mera Bajrang Bali. I'll never stop.
Like, yeah, the 80s Dhamaka series, we will come to Mr. India at some point, and we'll just be like us losing shit.
I mean, this line is so famous that it's literally in our theme song. Of all the lines we could have picked, it's in there, So, by the way, thank you, Shai, DJ Shai, to our new theme song, which is getting normally included in this episode now. So giving him a shout out for that. And I think also, Amrita, your favorite, Pran, is back in jail.
Yeah.
What did you think of? We're getting a lot of Pran here, like 3 weeks of Pran, right?
Yeah.
I love Pran. There's like no slander against Pran. This is like, I think this is around the 80s. Like, I think like that's, or no, actually, he did begin his transformation in the 70s, I think, where, he started playing maybe characters with like shades of gray, not entirely like villain characters, but characters that are still sort of threatening, right? Like, so in Zanjeer, for instance, he's got a little bit of threat to him. He's not just like a namby-pamby nice guy. And it's the same with the jailer in this one. He's like moving to elder statesman status, but he's also a little bit threatening. And he is in many ways the only real threat that Kaalia has, because Shani Said isn't doing anything. Shani Said is just collecting L's by the dozen.
Yeah, he just wants to live his life, go to Mujras. That's all Shani Said wants. He wants to like seduce princesses, get their diamonds. He wants to just like.
Yeah, which I don't understand, because we begin the story with Shani Said being the rich dude who is looting people left and right? He's looting everybody, all the labor unions, he's looting them, and he's not giving them or funding their health and safety regulations.
Can I just say,
yeah,
Shani Said is less evil than a lot of the rich people we have now. Or just saying, I'm saying, Shani Said who's not that bad.
Shani Said goes to a party to steal necklaces. What happened, Shani Said?
Yeah, but that's rich people behavior.
Yes.
That's what they do. It's just a diamond. It's not like he's inciting, racism across, the globe. Like Shani Said has small ambitions, know.
And Shani Said has terrible investment portfolio.
What does he invest in? Diamond and mills. That's two-tier business. And all of that money gets funded into a lair that he's built with, like chess pieces and compressor walls. Nobody's like, Shani Said, when are you going to use this? I don't care. I need a lair.
I want someone to one day do, like a costing of lairs. Like how much money are these people? Because you remember Mogambo's lair, right? Like we'll talk about it when we get to Mr. India. But even as a child, I was like, that's a lot of money and a lot of real estate.
And Shan, like the whole sharks and crocodiles and underwater and all the doors that slide.
Well, the thing is, they've taken the VC funding. They have to deliver, right? Like, if you've got the funding, sharks, you go to the Shark Tank, you say, I have an idea to build a lair. You have to build the lair, right? You can't go back now, right? Like, people have invested, And also in terms of costing, a lot of it is just like plasticine anyway, So it's okay. It kind of like balances things out. You depend on when where you're spending the money. I do feel it hurts the movie having these two, like, it doesn't have a clear path on who the villain is, because Pran is not really the villain, right, in a way. But that's like the kind of bombastic jailer Saab, all of that thing happening, but it's not really a fight that can be won, really, right? There's not really I do have to talk about a little bit about how he breaks out of the jail, though. That sequence. Because shall I run down step by step how Kaalia escapes from Pran's impregnable jail? Like this jailer, this is like, Zahan Kapoor ka dada, like he will not let them go. He's like, Bheno starts singing. Then Kaalia hides behind a wall. When the jailer comes in, he attacks him from behind. It's like the most obvious way out. There's like only one nook that you could hide behind. The door opens on the side that you can see. He jumps behind him. Then he runs out. Then one of the jailer is coming. And then Kaalia hides behind a pillar. He walks back. He hides. He goes through the other pillar. He climbs off the wall, jumps off the wall. He's out. He's free. That's it. We're done. And the van was waiting for him anyway. They didn't know how they were going to plan all of this. But that's how quick and easy it is. Like, for all of the bombast that Pran has, like, you're never going to leave this jail. Main jo jailer hu na, aisa hai hi nahi koi jailer aaj tak, It's like quite easy to escape the jail.
I want to quickly mention Amjad Khan's wig as Sunny Saab. Like, I think of all the wigs that we see in this movie, his was the one where all the money was spent. It looks so pristine. Like, he's totally living that dream of the wiggery. It's so good. It's so good.
I think they just thought, it has to be a kind of wig that can seduce a princess. That's the kind of wig I need, yes. What do we want to talk about now? Did we talk about Parveen Babi a little bit first? Yes. Or do we want to talk about Kaalia's life of crime first? Let's do Parveen Babi. I think we're motivated, right? Let's talk about Parveen Babi, who looks amazingly mind-blowing in this movie. She comes in very late. I kept waiting, where is Parveen Babi? And it comes in 1 hour and something in.
Yeah.
Amrita, what did you think of Parveen Babi in this?
I love her. I love her so much. She's like a fairy princess. When I was like a little girl and I was watching this movie, I think like that's also one of the reasons why I rated this movie so high, because I was 100% in love with her. She was just gorgeous. And but Shalini also has like an arc. She and Kallu actually have a bit of a partnership going, like she's not your, she's not your flower pot kind of heroine. Like she has like a thing, like she's like on the make, she's like hustling, and then she is sort of really by his side. Like he doesn't hide who he is from her, even though he's lying to his bhabhi all the time. He's very, like, she knows exactly what's up with him. And she chooses him above everybody else, even when, Pran's character is trying to tell her, like, beti, aisa mat karo beti, iske saath mat jao. And she's just like, yeah, but that's my man. Like,
and I've met Pran 5 minutes. I don't know who this man is, like, who's calling me beti suddenly,
I love Parveen Babi in this.
She, like, when she's wearing that red dress, she looks like Jessica Rabbit.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, obviously, like, as a male of a certain age, Jessica Rabbit is like the height of beauty. That's what I say. She looks like, it's a compliment. I mean, Jessica Rabbit.
Yeah.
What did you think of Parveen Babi, Sujay?
I mean, my go-to Parveen Babi reference is from Amar Akbar Anthony, and this is a close second. I think she's always gorgeous. Like, it's very difficult for her not to look gorgeous on screen, especially in the 80s and the 70s. She was flawless, and I don't really give that much attention to what Shalini was doing and her story. It was just, it's Parveen Babi on screen, and I love her.
Yeah, and that's it, because she can, she can act, she can emote, she can do comedy. Like that whole omelette cooking scene is amazing physical comedy when you think about it, right? And she kind of gets dropped into this, and I think she does amazingly. This is not an easy thing to do, I think, being funny in that way. But yeah,
speaking quickly of the omelette scene, I think there are two scenes which I found have been also used in other movies, and it occurs here. The omelette scene, I think we've seen a similar scene in Coolie where Amitabh is cooking the omelette upside down and Rati has to sort of narrate it. And the Jagdeep car scene where he goes to the car dealership and then drives the car and completely ruins it. I think we've seen that in Kurbani as well, and I can't exactly remember. There's probably another movie that we've seen, famously Mr. and Mrs. Khilari as well, with Juhi.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of these things that it could be interchanged in certain, other movies and things like that. Like I think Kallu, kind of the Bhola Bala Kallu, you could also interchange that with, Namak Halal, the way he is there. There's a lot of these things that are happening. A fight in a lair is so many movies, right? Like from Shan to, anything else. So there's a lot of these things where they almost becomes interchangeable. And that's why I couldn't remember what was part of Kaalia and what wasn't.
Yeah.
what I also like about Parveen Bhabi is like, A, she's funny, but also she's like a badass. Like, we were talking about in Caravan, like nobody does cardio. Parveen Bhabi does cardio, man. Like she's running. She's running, and then she does parkour, or her body double who's a clear man with
with a wig.
with a wig. Both of them do cardio. And I think that's pretty amazing. And like, even like, okay, there's sequences with a body double, but there's also sequences where she's actually doing high kicks, Deepika and Pathan style, high split in the dress. And I thought that was just amazing that in a small role, because she comes in an hour and a bit later, and it's really the Amitabh show pretty much, right? She does a lot, and then she also just gets some amazing songs, right?
So the song that she gets with Amitabh is "Tum Saath Ho Jab Apne," the first romantic song when they actually fall in love. But it's really funny because how soon do they fall in love? Because as soon as the children's problem of the school fees get resolved, they're like, oh, this is my man. He can take care of my baby.
Yeah, well, the second sequence is he's getting drunk in a bar, and she's the dancer at the bar, and she seduces him and then takes him home. Then he falls asleep, and then, which I thought was like, it's quite like a bold role when you think about it, right? For that era, I was like, wow, this is like, I think even now, like, do you see Alia Bhatt doing a role like this? I don't know, I thought it was quite modern in a way to take on that role, to use their parlance of the time.
Yes, modern ladkiyan.
Yeah. But then she also has to cook an omelette for Bhabhi, right? So there's a whole good balance, like, between the two things. Yeah. No, but I thought that was kind of and poor girl, right? She steals the diamond like 5 seconds before her mom dies, she like gets home with the diamond, mom mar gayi. Like, it happens instantly. So timing thodi off thi, but talent to tha,
talent to tha, lekin timing thodi off thi.
Yeah, but I want to talk a little bit about the Ooty chapter, because that's where they fall in love. And it was also the moment, because we just had Parveen Bhabi come in. Bhabi come in, Bhabi.
Parveen Bhabi.
Bhabi hogi teri Bhabi. I think they have, where I noticed like how amazing their clothes are. I saw
was it Ooty or Srinagar?
Was it? I don't know. Indian geography. Where is it? Was it Kashmir? Where is it?
Yeah, it was Kashmir, I think, where they went. The kids went to school.
Yeah, because I saw somebody on Twitter making fun of the jacket Amitabh is wearing with the white fur, and I thought that was a fire fit, man. I was like, that looks amazing. And Parveen Bhabi with the like, what is she wearing? Like a knee-length skirt with like tights and boots, and I was like, wow, this is quite modern kind of look. Like, it looked really cool. And then they have the amazing song too, right? Together, which is this a song I remember because it was like with the kids there, which is Amrita's favorite vibe of, two generations being overtly affectionate in front of each other. Very Rocky and Rani kind of things happening. Like, these kids are just there. We don't care. Yeah.
Oh, is that the Jab Se Tumko Dekha song, right?
Yeah, that's one. It was a good. It's a bop, no?
Yeah.
All the songs in this are like pretty great.
Maybe the Bhairo song I don't like.
Yes. Bichara.
Yeah, what were the songs that you liked?
Obviously, Jahan Teri Ye Nazar Hai is my go-to track whenever someone mentions Amitabh and Kaalia and the 80s. Jahan Teri Ye Nazar Hai still is a jam. Like, there's multiple remixes of this song. But going back watching this movie, I really enjoyed Tum Saath Ho Jab Apne.
Yeah.
It's such a beautiful, beautiful romantic song.
Amrita?
Yeah, I have to agree with Sujoy. Like that, I'd forgotten that song existed actually. And then I remember, like, I used to hum that song like all the time when I was a kid, because it was just such a, especially that part where she goes like la 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 la, it's just like It's so lovely. I love it.
This is like distilled R.D. Burman goodness, with Majrooh Sultanpuri writing. Oh, so good.
Yeah. And then, like, Tum Saath Ho Jab has also my favorite trope of singing a song in front of people that are pissed off. Like Pran is just really mad. Like, they're just like rubbing it in. And they're like, kind of
this is our party.
This is our party. We're going to do what we want.
Yeah.
I do like Jahan Teri Nazar Hai. Just because the song is so fun. But also just the setup of the song is so preposterous. Like, what was Shani Seth's plan here? Sara, plan hi galat hai. Let's set it up though, right? Like, so there's common 80s criminality is happening, smuggling and go downs, fights and all of that. But in the between, we also have a diamond heist going on. So there's a princess with a diamond, which I'm assuming it's kind of it's the Kohinoor, right? Like that's what they're probably kind of using as a template for it. And this princess is carrying the diamond on her neck, and she's going to a party where in the party, which is in some weird discotheque, they put a table on the platform, and she's eating alone on that table, and everybody's partying. And Shani Seth Amrish Puri just comes in like 80-year-old dude.
Amjad Khan,
sorry. What did I say?
Amrish Puri.
I wish everything was with Amrish Puri. He comes in and he's like, "Let's dance, baby." And he starts rubbing her back. It's so creepy. Imagine the princess, man. She's like 16. It's really weird. And then Amitabh flies in and judo chops Amjad Khan.
Yeah.
Takes the diamond, takes the girl, and then takes the diamond and puts it in a watch, which I thought was the coolest thing ever. Having like a little compartment in your watch where you can put the whole Kohinoor in there. I thought that was such a cool thing. And then Amitabh is brazen about it. He's just telling everybody. He's just like opening it, showing kaha rakha hua hai diamond, yera, this is the size. I'm putting it back in this watch that I'm carrying here. Close it down with the snap. And that's it, 80s ka crime. Masterminds they were. Any other random thoughts that you had about Kaalia? Anything that we've not
we need to talk a little bit more about Bhabhi, I think, because
let's talk about Bhabhi. What do you want to say about Bhabhi?
I mean, it's just is this the first time you've seen Asha Parekh in something, Asim?
As a kid, yes. I mean, I just saw her in Caravan, right? Wait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, was that Wahida Rehman?
Oh my God.
Yeah. I get them confused, man. Like, they were all old ladies when I started realizing them, But no. I think as a kid, this was probably the first time. But also with Pran, like, when I went back and started like watching his older work, I didn't know that the Pran was some debonair man, that was like a romantic foil to the heroes. Like for me, he was also always this old guy who was a villain and kind of like an upstanding villain with a weird haircut, because he had every time a weird haircut, right? So same with Asha Parekh. I don't even think I've seen more of Wahida's work than I've seen of Asha Parekh's work, to be honest.
And this is the only movie that Amitabh Bachchan and Asha Parekh have done together.
Yeah, but they were like 9 days difference, and Amitabh clearly didn't want her as a heroine, right? But it does like it's funny because we just saw Caravan, right? And when did that come out? How much? Kaalia was 81 and Caravan was
71.
Yeah, so 10 years ago. But it feels like a lifetime ago. It feels like 30 years ago, something like that. I know. But it is that thing where even like Katrina Kaif sometimes struggle with or Sonakshi even struggled with, Sonakshi Sinha, because she came in young, then she starts working with older male actors, and then she can't work with contemporaries anymore because her film age is, higher than her actual age. And, where she would star with a contemporary, and you would almost think, oh, she's like an older heroine, where she's not. And maybe that's something that happened with, not only Asha Parekh, but a lot of her, Rakhi, I think, kind of the same thing, right? She's playing Amitabh's mom later on, right, in a film. So in Shakti, for example, and she was her heroine,
Well, that happened a lot with like
yeah.
Amitabh Bachchan's heroines, like Wahida Rehman was one of those. Wait, who played? Oh, Nutan played his wife in that Rajshri movie. Never mind. For a moment, yeah, Saudagar. Yeah, it's funny because like I generally like when Asha Parekh began her career, she always played a sort of like Audrey Hepburn, ingenue, like very westernized, anglicized sort of characters. And that's how her first movie was like Love in Simla, like very anglicized characters. And then throughout the 70s, as she began doing character work, she just became this very like some people like this Bhabhi, like very patriarchal, very like ye hamare sanskar hain kind of characters. And I think that's just like a really great example of how Hindi film writers write women characters, where like it's okay to be progressive when you're like young and sexy. But the moment you become an older woman, it's time for you to become like the matriarchal figure who cannot possibly, be any kind of like fun whatsoever.
I think it's not even getting older, it's getting married. The moment you're married, I mean, I don't know, it's this weird male accessibility to sexuality, like because she's married, or there's like a now kisi ki bhabhi hai, kisi ki maa hai, straight away. And it's I was thinking about this not too long ago. I was watching this older Meenakshi interviews because she was giving a few, and I was thinking about that a lot of these actresses lament that they didn't get the roles that the actresses now have, like an Alia Bhatt. But I was thinking, like, who is the one that, like, when Deepika comes back, she's going to do exactly the same roles that she was doing before. It's not going to affect her career taking a year off or 2 years off. Anushka Sharma, whoever else has gotten a baby, has gotten married, she comes back, she does exactly the same now. But this wasn't the case in this era of, Asha Parekh, Wahida Rehman and all that.
And that didn't change even till the 90s,
Yeah.
Well, funnily enough, for whom that was not true. Like there was this exactly one actor for whom it was possible to have a career kind of like what the women are having today. And that's Sharmila Tagore. And I think the reason why has to do with the fact that she wasn't your typical Hindi film heroine. And she had a proximity to privilege that was completely separate from her film career work. It was the fact that she was married to Mansoor Ali Khan Patodi, and like, she was like a begum and like all that kind of stuff. And of course, she's, a Tagore and like all that kind of stuff. But you're right. Like a lot of these women were forced into those like sort of roles where, like Asha Parekh's great film, and Nutan's also was like from the 70s was this movie called Main Tulsi Tere Aangan Ki, which I don't know if any of you have seen it.
I've heard of it.
It is the most terrible movie about these two women who are both married to Vijay Anand of all people, and like one of them is a prostitute and the other one is your Khandaan A Bahu, and like what happens to the family is like a tearjerker sort of a thing. But that's the kind of nonsense that women were supposed to do if you still wanted to act in your and you didn't want to do your bhabhi ma roles.
And you mentioned Sharmila, but I think the second after Sharmila is Bebo. Bebo is the one that changed it, like where she absolutely didn't care and she was going to do the roles she wanted to do. And again, she was kind of above any of those tropes. And I don't think even Charisma or Madhuri were able to do what Bebo was able to do. Like, I'm going to do exactly the same kind of roles. So it's interesting how pivotal Kareena is. I think she opened the lanes for the Alias and the Deepikas and stuff like that to not give a crap when they come back, because it definitely wasn't the case for even her contemporaries, I think.
And Bebo actually credits Sharmila with like showing her the way, like she's very open about it. But it makes me wonder, like, how come like nobody actually followed Sharmila back then?
Yeah. I mean, this is like maybe an uncooked thought, so I haven't really thought of it, right? But there's also like a lot of these, like Aruna Irani, we were watching in Caravan and in Karz, and Helen, we discussed a few times, right? Where both of their roles are very vampish, like very focused on sexuality, and then you strip all of that away and you make them a ma. Like in the Raja Babus and in the Betas and stuff like that with Rorani. And it's like you're taking away their key skill, and it's what's left is like, Beva Ma Andi Ben. So it's kind of an interesting swap. I don't know if, I think maybe for like Wahida, Asha and all of these, even Rakhi, the roles just weren't interesting. Like after, because they were such big actresses and things like that, where if you're just going to be Amitabh's mom and Vinod Khanna's mom, maybe after a while you just don't want to do it anymore, I don't know. But like I said, it's an uncooked thought. I haven't really I'm not sure if that was the reason. Maybe partly. I don't know. Is there another reason you think?
I have no idea. It's just something that I've always wondered.
Let's talk quickly about the finale of the movie, which is such a complex setup because Shani Seth has like an Enter the Dragon kind of layer going on too. So he has a chessboard, first of all. He's
touch sensitive.
Yeah, touch sensitive. And I think it's purpose built to just annoy Kaalia. Like, there was no, like, when else is he going to use this chessboard? It's not multi-purpose. It just does one thing, And then if he steps out of the chessboard, then Bhabhi is in a room with those walls that compress. And he's going to crush Bhabhi, or he's going to crush Munni, right? Which I feel, again, we've seen this in Namak Halal too, right? When they also like in like cabins of something.
I mean, who are these engineers who are building these? Tender kahan pass hota hai?
No, but the problem is like, it's like the Taj Mahal thing. They cut off the arms of the people that design it. Like, we never know how it works. But the problem that I had with the chessboard is that Amitabh has quite long legs. He could just jump over. Like, that's my problem that I was having with it. But I think all of this is to set up the poetic justice of Shani Seth losing his arms.
Yeah. In the compressor.
Yeah, in the compressor. I don't know if they just watch Star Wars and I think, idea, that kind of thing. Because what are you crushing, man? Like, what are you crushing in those walls? Like, he doesn't have one compressor room, he has two. So absurd. Would you build a layer like that, Amrita? Would that be the design you're looking for?
I am partial to a more like, Shan vibe.
Mogambo Shan vibe.
Yeah.
You know what?
Like
At the end of this series, let's do a layer ranking. And I think we should invite Beth for that, though.
Yeah.
She's the, eminent specialist on underground villain layers. So, I think that discussion is one that needs to be happened, and we need to kind of, any other random thoughts, Sujoy? Anything else that we haven't discussed that you wanted to kind of talk about?
So one of them is, Pran was totally against Kaalia because of his crime career, and he, like, every time he was like, "You're never gonna be, lead a good life and you are not worthy of Shalini or whatever. But at the end, when he gets to realize his story, and then Kaalia is like, I'm gonna go and rescue my bhabhi and whatever. प्राण says, तुमने अगर किसी शेरनी का दूध पिया है तो मैंने भी किसी भेड़ का दूध नहीं पिया. Oh, such a random ass line.
How hard is it to get sherni milk though?
Yeah.
What is that underground market now? They don't even have the dark web in that time. How do you get it?
In an offline world, where do you get sherni ka doodh?
Exactly. These are the questions that we need to ask.
And one of the IRL trivias is that this movie took a lot of time to get made because Tinu Anand was just running around telling the story to everybody so that he could cast the main guy to play Kaalia. And he infamously approached Vinod Khanna, and Vinod Khanna was literally on the tail end of his career because he was totally into Osho at this time. And like he said no because of that. And he was like finishing shoots for other films that he was shooting for. And like, he was not going to take a new project because he was totally high in the arms of Osho.
Interesting. I mean, these stories about Vinod Khanna are like a plenty, right? Like he just didn't want to work. Like, I'm going to do this.
I totally understand, totally hard relate with Vinod Khanna right now. Like,
which, the Osho part or not wanting to work part?
Not wanting to work. Okay, if I had enough fuck all money.
If I can just find a cult to join. Amrita, any random thoughts that you still had about Kaalia?
Like this one, Parveen Babi is just so good at comedy. Like everyone talks of, I mean, I'm guilty of it too. Like everyone's just so focused on like how she's so pretty, but she's actually like really good at like physical comedy as well.
Is she a bad dancer though?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She can't dance.
Because I was like, when she seduces him and she gets him in the hotel room, she's still doing dances. I was like, I think my sexiness would be dropping watching her do what she's doing. It's like, please don't do that.
If you have watched Namak Halal, you should like go back and like watch her dances from that film because the songs are such bangers and my God, she is so bad.
Yeah,
she's like the equivalent of Amitabh Bachchan when it comes to dancing.
Yeah, but I think the thing with Amitabh, the choreography was adapted to her. She's just like flailing her arms like that all the time. It's like, I think, a very arm-heavy choreography she always got.
But yeah, no, she can't dance. But who cares? She has that face card.
Yeah. Parveen can't dance, Sala.
New t-shirt dropping on our Redbubble.
I had a few random thoughts that I had. Whenever Kaalia goes to America, he brings sari for his bhabhi from America.
Yeah. And he teaches Parveen how to wear a sari as well.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think Jiski Mere Angne Mein is playing in
Lavaris,
the background.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like a lot of these things are from other movies and stuff like that and callbacks and things like that. But yeah, all the bhabis are asking Asha Parekh ki sari kahan se kharidi? America se.
That is such a New York se kharidi.
The whole car destroying scene that you kind of discussed. What's his name? Jagjit, right? Jagdeep, yeah.
Surma Bhopali.
Yeah. He was really the Johnny Lever of that time, no? Yeah. Just comes in for a thing. He's like so much. He's so much. It's hard. It's hard to sit through those scenes. Baby Raza Murad is prosecutor, guys. Did you see? Baby Raza Murad? That was kind of cool. And also thought that, Kaalia got his education in crime in prison. I feel he skipped the chapter on fingerprints because the moment where Shani Sits frames him for the murder, Kaalia is just not like he's just putting his arm on the knife. He's like licking the body. He's like leaving DNA prints everywhere. The bhabhi didn't even need to testify. They had all the proofs that, Kaalia did that. So, yeah, that was not very smart move to skip modules. You should finish your course. You should finish your course. Be like McMahon in Cars. Follow the whole course so you can figure out, the Morse code.
Yeah.
needs to figure out this. Yeah. Final thoughts, Amrita, on Kaalia?
The songs are still killer, but yeah, this is not a movie that you necessarily need to watch.
Sujoy.
Yeah, nostalgia धोखा देती है. कभी-कभी.
Yeah, it's like, I get why this movie is not talked about, because it is a mishmash of a lot of other movies and a lot of sequences, a lot of moments that we've seen in other roles, in other movies, and the ones that kind of, they never also supersede those other ones, right? Like, that's the problem. Like,
there is no original mark of Kaalia. Like this drama could have been like elevated in certain ways, and I don't think the skills are lacking. Basically, if this was a Manmohan Desai movie, I think there would have been more oomph to it. But it's very much like a template filmmaking of things that have happened in various other movies.
Yeah, I also feel it just needs another edit. Like, it needs to be shift, like certain changes need to happen, because the songs are good, the costume is good, there's a few fire lines in there for sure, so there are moments in there, but there's something about the screenplay that just like haphazardly put together, which kind of like jangles basically when you watch it. And you have to like force yourself to commit to this movie, right? And I think if you are detached from the 80s, where you're not in that era, and you're not like, I've paid money to watch this movie and I'm a huge Amitabh fan, even then you would have probably admitted that it's not as good as Kuli or Namak Halal or even later on Shahinshah, unless I revisit it and change my opinion. But I think maybe Shahinshah even had the same problems, probably, when you think about it, right? Like certain key moments, key looks that are kind of very iconic, but when you watch the whole thing, it's going to end up becoming quite jangly, So yeah, that's Kaalia. Amrita, where can people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter and on Blue Sky at Amrita IQ.
Sujoy?
You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky at 93K, and you can follow Khandaan Podcast on all our socials at Khandaan Podcast.
I'm Erasim Bernie. If you join Patreon, you will get access to these episodes slightly quicker than the main feed, and you will also not get any annoying ads. Plus, it's a great way to support us. Join our community. This series would not be happening without Patreon anyway. So we really want to thank everybody that kind of contributes and helps us there. I think the next episode is going to be Earth. If I'm not, if we don't mess up with the schedule, because that's going to be the next one, a movie I've not watched. So let's see. But yeah, thank you for listening, and we'll be back with a new episode soon.
Khandaan Podcast from the Epiglottis. Papa, are you podcasting again?